It's Monday, the 19th of May. Welcome to the President's Daily Brief. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. All right, let's get briefed. We'll start things off today with newly uncovered documents from the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, that shed light on Hamas's motivation for the brutal October 7, 2023 attacks on Israel. Reportedly, a calculated strategy that was aimed at reshaping regional politics. We'll have the details. Later in the show, after last week's faltering attempt to bring Moscow and Kyiv to the table in Turkey, President Trump is now making direct calls to both Putin and Zelensky, hoping to break the diplomatic deadlock. Plus, according to the FBI, a deadly explosion at a reproductive clinic in Palm Springs, California, is being investigated as a targeted act of terrorism. And in today's Back of the Brief, could the answer to Gaza somehow involve Libya? Well, a controversial relocation plan is reportedly under serious discussion. But first, today's PDB Spotlight. We'll start today with newly uncovered documents that appear to shed light on Hamas's motivation for launching the October 7th terror attacks on Israel. And if what's in the documents is accurate, it confirms what many have long suspected. The massacre wasn't just about striking Israel, it was about derailing diplomacy. According to a document reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, the assault was designed specifically to torpedo the peace negotiations that were taking place between Israel and Saudi Arabia. The document in question is a transcript. It's minutes of a high-level Hamas Political Bureau meeting that was held inside Gaza on the 2nd of October, just 5 days before the attacks. Israeli forces say they discovered the document buried in a tunnel beneath the enclave. During the meeting, Yahya Sinwar, who was the top Hamas leader in Gaza at the time, told fellow militants during the meeting that what was needed was, quote, an extraordinary act to sabotage the normalization process between Israel and Saudi Arabia. He warned the group that if the Saudis moved forward with a deal, it would, quote, open the door for the majority of Arab and Islamic countries to follow the same path. In other words, normalization wouldn't just happen with Riyadh, it would spread across the region, leaving Hamas and the Palestinian cause politically isolated. Sinwar reportedly went on to say, quote, there is no doubt that the Saudi Zionist normalization agreement is progressing significantly, and that Hamas had to respond with a move that would, quote, bring about a major shift in the paths and balances of the region with regard to the Palestinian cause, end quote. According to the document, Sinwar also expected support from other Iranian-backed militant groups in the so-called Axis of Resistance, a reference to the network of anti-Israel proxy forces that, of course, includes Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and various militias in Syria and Iraq. Now, if you've been listening to the PDB since the start of this war, this really shouldn't come as a surprise. There have been multiple signs pointing to this strategy since the beginning. Just weeks after the attack, the deputy commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, praised Hamas for halting the normalization effort. He said, quote, those who intended to pursue the effort have now adopted positions against the Zionist regime, end quote. That was a thinly veiled reference to Saudi Arabia. And back in June, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said that the October 7th attacks had, quote, thwarted all of the enemy's plans, adding that the operation had, quote, dispelled all hopes of reviving this plan of normalization. But this document, this is the first time that we're hearing it straight from Hamas personnel. Now, speaking of Hamas leadership, some major news out of Gaza this weekend. The man widely considered to be the group's de facto commander, Mohammed Sinwar, was reportedly killed in a major Israeli airstrike. He was found in a tunnel complex between Khan Yunis, alongside the bodies of 10 aides. That's according to reports from Saudi outlet Al-Hadath. Mohammed Sinwar is, of course, the younger brother of the terminated Yahya Sinwar, the same man who led that October 2nd strategy meeting. Known to Israeli intelligence as, quote, the Shadow, the younger Sinwar was an elusive figure, helping to rebuild Hamas's shattered command structure after more than a year of war with Israel. The IDF hasn't officially confirmed his death yet, but that confirmation is expected in the coming days. All right, coming up next, President Trump steps in to revive stalled peace talks between Moscow and Kyiv, and the FBI investigates a deadly California bombing as an act of terrorism. I'll be right back. Hey, Mike Baker here. Now, this July, perhaps you've heard about this already, but this July there's going to be a global summit of what's called the BRICS nations. It's going to be held in Rio de Janeiro. Now, this bloc of emerging superpowers, it includes China, Russia, India, Iran. They're meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency, and they're calling this project the Rio Reset. Now, as BRICS nations push forward with their plans, demand for U.S. dollars could decrease, of course, bringing down the value of the dollar. And while this transition, of course, won't happen overnight, the Rio Reset does mark a pivotal moment when BRICS objectives move from possibility toward reality. So you ask yourself, what can you do to help protect your hard-earned dollar savings? Well, the first thing you could do is check in with the professionals at Birch Gold. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. And you can claim your free information kit on gold simply by texting PDB to the number 989-898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free information kit on owning gold before July and that Rio Reset. Just text PDB to 989-898 today. Welcome back to the PDB. After last week's failed ceasefire talks in Turkey, President Trump announced over the weekend that he'll be speaking with Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone this morning in another effort to end the war in Ukraine. The call is expected to be followed by conversations with Ukrainian President Zelensky and several NATO leaders. On Truth Social on Saturday, Trump posted, quote, "Hopefully it will be a productive day. A ceasefire will take place and this very violent war, a war that should have never happened, will end," end quote. Moscow confirmed the outreach. The Kremlin's mouthpiece, Dmitry Peskov, told a state-run outlet, quote, "The conversation is in the works." According to officials, the two leaders will hash out terms for a temporary truce and possibly float the idea of a face-to-face summit. Trump's announcement comes on the heels of Zelensky's failed attempt to sit down with Putin in Ankara, Turkey. As we discussed here last week on the PDB, the Russian leader had kept the world guessing about his attendance for days. Will he show? Will he not show? Before ultimately opting to no-show. Putin instead dispatched a junior-level delegation led by former Culture Minister Vladimir Medinsky, best remembered for overseeing the doomed 2022 Istanbul talks. Zelensky, who had flown to Turkey with hopes of securing a meaningful direct diplomatic breakthrough, dismissed the Kremlin's delegation as little more than, quote, theater props, making clear he would only engage with Putin himself. Even so, he authorized a Ukrainian delegation led by his defense minister to proceed to Istanbul for preliminary talks, quote, out of respect for Trump. The mandate of the Ukrainian team, negotiators said, was narrowly focused to explore pathways for implementing and monitoring Trump's proposed 30-day unconditional ceasefire. But despite the effort, talks yielded no breakthrough. Russian envoys came armed with sweeping demands, the same demands they've been throwing on the table for quite some time. Ukraine's permanent withdrawal of NATO ambitions, a halt to all Western military aid, official recognition of Russian sovereignty over Crimea and 4 occupied regions, and a full Ukrainian military pullback from territory now under Russian control. Kyiv, of course, flatly rejected the terms, calling them non-starters. Parallel to Trump's weekend outreach, Secretary of State Marco Rubio held a call Saturday with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, urging support for an immediate pause in hostilities. European allies have echoed that appeal, lining up behind Trump's proposal and Zelensky's conditions for a temporary halt in fighting. But while diplomats wrangle, the war on the ground has only escalated. On Sunday, Ukraine's Air Force reported that Russia launched a record 273 drones overnight. That's the largest single drone attack since the invasion began. The previous high was 267 back in February. The Kyiv regional governor reported 1 civilian killed and 3 others wounded in the assault. Air defenses intercepted 88 drones, while another 128 went missing from radar, likely decoys meant to jam Ukrainian electronic warfare systems. Journalists from the Kyiv Independent described a night punctuated by multiple explosions across the capital and outlying regions, highlighting the scope and coordination of the attack. Despite mounting frustration among allies over Moscow's intensifying attacks, the Trump administration has not yet imposed new sanctions on Russian oil exports, leaving open the possibility of escalation should peace talks fail. For now, officials say, well, diplomacy remains a priority, but pressure is mounting for a tougher response. Okay, shifting stateside. Federal authorities have identified the suspect, now deceased, in the Palm Springs, California fertility clinic bombing as 25-year-old Guy Edward Bartkus. The explosion tore through the American Reproductive Center's facility on Saturday, killing the suspected bomber and injuring at least 4 others. FBI Assistant Director Akil Davis confirmed that bomb technicians and Joint Terrorism Task Forces were deployed to the site, calling it, quote, a major explosion. The shockwave was reportedly felt over a mile away, with damage observed several blocks from the blast zone. Videos circulating on social media showed nearby storefronts with shattered glass and debris scattered along the street. Davis stated, quote, make no mistake, this is an intentional act of terrorism. According to an internal LAPD briefing obtained by the Los Angeles Times, authorities believe that Bartkus intended this to be a suicide bombing. Investigators also found 2 rifles, reported to be an AK-47 and an AR-style weapon, along with ammunition near the charred remains of his vehicle. Sources familiar with the investigation say Bartkus, a resident of 29 Palms, California, had recorded statements opposing the idea of bringing people into the world, quote, against their will. The Associated Press reports he posted a rambling, pessimistic-like manifesto online shortly before the attack, calling it, quote, an act of war against what he described as the pro-life, pro-natalist movement. Authorities believe the clinic was deliberately chosen. Palm Springs Police Chief Andy Miles told reporters, quote, terrorism came knocking on the door of Palm Springs. He added, quote, I can tell you that this city will rise and be more effective as a beacon of hope than before. Retired FBI agent and former hostage negotiator Jason Pack told Fox News that the forensic process could take days. He said, quote, whether this was a single large device or multiple smaller ones, those answers will come from detailed lab testing and scene reconstruction. Pack added that residue analysis, shrapnel fragments, and blast patterning will be key to understanding the device's composition and yield. Despite the extensive structural damage, a clinic spokesman confirmed the facility's IVF laboratory, housing sensitive reproductive material such as eggs and embryos, remained intact. The spokesman stated, quote, no staff members were harmed. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi condemned the bombing as, quote, unforgivable, adding, quote, the Trump administration understands that women and mothers are the heartbeat of America. California Governor Gavin Newsom also offered condolences and pledged full cooperation with the federal investigation. Authorities say this may be the largest bombing investigation in Southern California since 2018, when a man planted a bomb disguised as a package at a spa in Orange County. The FBI confirms that there are currently no outstanding threats to the public as the investigation continues. All right, coming up next in the back of the brief, the Trump administration is reportedly eyeing a radical solution to the Gaza crisis, one that involves moving 1 million people to Libya. Well, that sounds reasonable. I'll have those details next. Hey, Mike Baker here. Well, look at that calendar. You see what's coming up? Memorial Day. Now, Memorial Day isn't just a long weekend. Of course it's not. It's first and foremost, frankly, it's our chance to remember all those who have served and sacrificed, right? But then after that, it's also the kickoff, frankly, to grilling season. And let me tell you, if your grill could talk, it would be begging for something better than just old grocery store beef. And that's why I order from Tri-Tails Beef. It's a real Texas ranch, not just some faceless meat corporation. Tri-Tails ships pasture-raised, grain-finished Black Angus beef straight from their family ranch to your front door. There's no gimmicks, no middlemen, just real premium beef with great taste in every cut. And right now, for Memorial Day, you can get $20 off their ribeye and New York strip specials. And if you go to trybeef.com/PDB, they'll throw in 2 free flat iron steaks with your order. Stock up now. That's trybeef.com/PDB. Your grill and your taste buds will thank you. In today's back of the brief, the Trump administration is weighing a proposal to permanently relocate as many as 1 million Palestinians from Gaza to Libya. According to 5 individuals familiar with the matter, the plan has progressed far enough that American officials have raised it directly with Libyan leadership. That's according to an NBC News report. In exchange for resettling the Gazans, the U.S. would reportedly unfreeze billions of dollars in Libyan assets that have been locked down since the Muammar Gaddafi era. The sources say Israeli officials have been kept informed throughout the process. That's a notable shift from recent approaches that have often sidelined Jerusalem in high-stakes negotiations, such as the release of Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander from Hamas captivity. Still, the report suggests that the idea gained enough internal traction to spark discussions about offering incentives, such as free housing and financial stipends, to encourage voluntary relocation. But the logistics are another story. Well, the logistics and the politics. Gaza, under rubble and lacking a functioning airport, isn't exactly conducive to mass movement. And post-Gaddafi Libya remains deeply fractured, and that's putting it diplomatically, with rival governments in Tripoli and Benghazi still vying for control more than a decade after the fall of the Gaddafi regime. Basically, putting it in a nutshell, Libya remains a hot mess. The proposal is not out of step, though, with President Trump's broader vision for Gaza's future, which he's floated over the last several months. In early February, you may recall, Trump made headlines by suggesting the U.S. could, quote, take over Gaza and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East, while offering regional relocation options to neighboring Arab states. As we covered last week here on the PDB, Trump doubled down on the concept during his Gulf state tour, pitching the idea of transforming Gaza into a, quote, freedom zone. In his words, well, quote, I have concepts for Gaza that I think are very good, adding that U.S. involvement would be key. Arab states have so far rejected any talk of mass relocation, fearing regional destabilization and a permanent erasure of Palestinians. But within Jerusalem, among the hardline members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition, there is growing momentum to seize the war as a tool to reshape Gaza's post-Hamas future, including talk of reestablishing settlements in the Strip. Despite the international pushback, momentum among hardline officials dovetails with the Trump administration's ambitions for a post-Hamas Gaza. Whether the proposal moves from concept to reality, well, let's just say, if I were a cynical betting man, I would bet a pile of fat stacks that there is zero chance 1 million residents of Gaza are going to resettle in Libya. And that, my friends, is the President's Daily Brief for Monday, the 19th of May. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. And finally, hopefully you had a chance to check out our latest episode of the extended weekend show, the PDB Situation Report. If not, well, you're in luck. You can still catch it and past episodes on our YouTube channel. You can find our YouTube channel at President's Daily Brief, as well as podcast platforms everywhere. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back later today with the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool. Hey, Mike Baker here. Let's talk about financial health. Let's talk about your financial health. Now, when your credit isn't perfect, right, it can really feel like the system is stacked against you. But Kickoff, that's the name of the company, Kikoff, Kickoff gives you the smartest tools to build real credit fast. Look, with transparent, affordable plans starting at just $5 per month, no hidden fees, and zero interest, Kickoff helps you score big when it comes to credit. And it's simple. You make on-time payments, credit bureaus see good behavior, and your credit can grow fast. Users with credit under 600 grew an average of 84 points in their first year with Kickoff. With over 1 million users and thousands of positive reviews, there's a reason why Kickoff is the #1 credit builder app. Start building credit with Kickoff today, and you can get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price when you go to getkickoff.com/Mike today. That's Kickoff without the C. So getkickoff.com/Mike. Must sign up via getkickoff.com/Mike to activate offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers, first month only. Subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first-year credit score impact of plus 84 points. Vantage score 3.0 between January 2023 and January 2024 for Kickoff credit account users who started with a score below 600, who paid on time, and who had no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during the period. Late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.